so we were talking about white balance, so that makes sense to me now.
Right.
And so it works opposite. The higher I go in my Kelvin, the warmer it gets, right? Or does it get warmer?
Because it's compensating for the light.
Okay.
So I'm going to go down in Kelvin.
The lower you get, yeah.
Getting. So in real life, the higher the Kelvin, it's like a flame. The higher the Kelvin, the bluer it gets. So just like a flame on a stove. If it's warmer like a sunset, then it'll be much lower Kelvin, like 2300K. Okay. But the reason why it's blue on the camera, it's just the opposite, is because your sensor is saying, oh, it's 2300K outside. That's what you're telling it. But it's really not, because we have some warm light coming down. So it's doing just the opposite.
Okay.
Because that's not a true value.
Here's my question. You try to control the light as much as you possibly can, but most of the time you run into situations where you've got mixed light, where you've got cold light coming in from the window and warm light coming in from tungsten, a yellow light. How do you compensate for those two? Do you normally try to cover up one of the lights with something, or?
Yes, the easiest thing to do is put a color gel over your light, and they have these little light panels that are pretty common, and they actually come with these color temperature, like orange temperature or blue temperature gels that just slide over the LED lights, and that way you can say, oh, we have tons of blue light coming in, so you put CT blues on them, which stands for color temperature blues. You just slide them on top of them. Now all your light is matched, it's all blue. If you have a lot of tungsten light, then you slide the orange panels on in different degrees until you get the desired effect.
Okay.
In old film movies, they actually used to cover the windows with color temperature gels if they had, tons of different lights. So,
okay. All right.
Yeah, it's a relevant question because you'll see amateur stuff shot where the person looks perfectly white and good, but the background is like extremely orange and yellow. It's because they were shooting them with blue light in the background. Might have been a normal color, but the camera doesn't know. It doesn't adjust like our eyes do.
Okay.
So right now, I went to 5600K because I'm telling the camera, I think the temperature in the room is roughly 5600K.
Okay.
So when I'm pointing to a white source, say that mouse right there, I say, yeah, that's pretty close to what it looks like to my eye.
Okay.
But if I lie to the camera and say, well, actually, this is a really warm-looking room, and I turn it down, the camera's like, oh, he says it's a really warm room, so I better go cool. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
If I say the warm is really hot, meaning it's really, really blue, and I go all the way up, then the camera's like, oh, he's saying the room is really blue, I better make my sensor go warmer to compensate for it. And then all of a sudden I get kind of like this ugly warm look.
Yeah.
So it's confusing because
it's always opposite.
Yeah.
It's just like photography. My camera's always working in opposite too.
Yeah.
Okay, now show me one more time. Once I want to set my white balance, what button do I push and hold to set my white balance for the white part?
So once you got your Kelvin selected, you just click the white balance, it goes off.
Okay.
Click it again, it turns back onto the Kelvin. I wouldn't even worry about the presets personally.
Okay.
They're up to you. If like you're in doubt and you're like, my eyes, I just walked in from the outside, we have to do this shoot, I don't trust my eyes right now. In that case, you can put your trust in the camera and just say, preset A or B, and then hold down this button, and it will measure the white balance of whatever is white in front of you.
Okay, that makes sense.
That's always an option.
Okay.
Your gain button right here. So right there, 0 decibels.
Now what's the gain? Remind me again.
The gain is kind of like your ISO on your camera.
Okay.
It adjusts the light sensitivity on the chip. So it's an artificial light sensitivity.
Okay.
The higher you go, generally the more grainy and noisy things get. So right now I just leave it at 0.
Okay.
Right here is your neutral density filter. It's basically a gray filter, so it doesn't affect the colors, but it's just basically like sunglasses. The higher you go, 2, 3, 4, it still sees the camera. See that the darker it gets. So if you go outside and you're like, everything's blown out, I have my aperture as small as it can be, and my shutter speed is set to where I want it, but it's still like things are just blown out. You can use your neutral density filter nice thing about this too is you can also cheat the camera into saying, well, I'm going to open up my iris to get that nice shallow depth of field, but I can also use the neutral density filter to get that desired effect, because less and less light is getting into the
Okay.
camera.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Generally, I'd leave it off, because what happens is you'll come in from like a day shoot or something, and it'll be like turned on, and then you'll be exposing your camera and trying to figure out why everything is so dark, and then everything will look grainy in post because you turned the gain up or something like that. It happens. I'm speaking from experience.
Okay. Talk to me a little bit about aperture and